Hey everyone, it's Allegra Davis Hanna, and today we're going to talk about letter grades in Canvas. I know that we want to make sure that our students can see their final average along with the letter grade that they've earned, and some of us have different systems for calculating letter grades, so we want to make sure that everything showing for students is accurate, especially when we're preparing our final grades for submission. So I'm going to go into a demo course that I have set up, and I do want to just let everybody know that in a minute I'm going to open the grade book and I'm going to show you how to do a few things in there. But these are not real students. These are some of my colleagues who have agreed to be demo students for the purposes of videos like this one. So please don't think that these are real students or real grades. They are demos. All right, so the first thing I want to say is that your grading scheme, your grade scale, the point system that you use, how your grades are calculated, all that information should be clearly explained to students in your course syllabus. So if you use weighted grades, that information will be automatically populated into your syllabus right over here on the right-hand side by Canvas. But somewhere in your syllabus, you want to explain to students whether you round, how you round, if you use a point system, how many points it takes to get an A, B, C, so that students know when they look in the syllabus how the grade is calculated and that you're using a consistent process for all students. So first make sure that that process and that scale that you use is spelled out for students in your course syllabus. And if it's not now, make sure that you add it so that students see it and that it's there for future semesters. All right, so we're going to go into the grade book. And I have a final grades column or a total grade that's going to show up right here next to the student's name. If you don't see it next to the student's name, that means that it's all the way over on the right-hand side at the very end of the grade book. And you can put this total grade column either right next to students' names or all the way at the end. That's up to you. So if you want to move it, you can click on the three dots, the more options menu for the column, and you can move it to the end. And if it's at the end, you'll have the option to move it to the start. So you see that the grades are calculated here, and we have numeric grades for students. Again, I use a 100-point scale, so it's hopefully pretty transparent what letter grade these students are going to receive. But I want to make sure that that's showing up for them here and that that's in the documentation I submit at the end of the semester. And it's also much easier for me to enter letter grades into WebAdvisor if I see a letter grade here in Canvas as well. So let's go to the course settings. I'm going to click Settings down here at the bottom of the menu. Make sure that you're in Course Details. Scroll down about halfway and you'll see Enable Grading Scheme as a box that you can check. I'm going to check that box. I'm going to update course details. Now that's going to default me to the default grading scheme. And I'm going to go to grades and you can see that it has put letter grades next to the student's number grades. But let's say I don't use pluses and minuses. We don't really use those at TCC. Or maybe I round up from 9, so the 69 is really a C for me. You may want to customize it or change that a little bit. So let's go back to the settings. And after I've clicked Enable Course Grading Scheme, I have this option here to View Grading Scheme. So this is the grading scheme that's the default Canvas grading scheme based on kind of what the most people use in the world. But I can go to Select Another Scheme. And there are two that are set up for TCC. One is called Letter, and it's the standard 90 to 100 is an A, 80 to a 90 is a B, 70 to an 80 is a C, 60 to a 70 is a D. So that's a pretty standard, and most people would be using that one. So you can click Use this grading standard if that's what you'd like to use. They've also set up for us one that rounds up from 9.5. So an 89.5 and above counts as an A, and a 79.5 and above counts as a B. And so you can use this grading standard for your grade scheme if you'd like. Or you can click on Manage Grading Schemes here at the bottom, and you can create your own. So if you're using a point system, or if you round up from the 9 instead of 9.5, however you want to set up your scheme, you can do that. You can hit Edit to edit an existing one that you've created. You cannot edit the TCC ones, but you can add a new one. You can just click on Add Grading Scheme. And so you can revise all of these. To me personally, it's easier to get rid of all of them and to just start over. So new grading scheme here. So I'm going to start with an A. The range for an A is 100 to maybe it's an 89.8. Whatever your process is, whatever your system is, you want to put that in here. And then I can add for a B, anything below an 89.8 all the way down to a 79.8 if I'm using that very precise system that I just made up. So for a C, anything less than a 79.8 to a 69 point. The hardest part of this process is remembering that this means less than and not greater than, which is always hard for me to remember which is which. So for there, and then of course an F is anything from a 0 to a 59.8. And if I click on save, it will save that new grading scheme. Make sure you give it a title that you'll recognize when you go back to settings. If at any time you want to edit that, you can click the pencil and it will allow you to edit those values. So go back to settings and under view grading scheme, you can select another scheme and my new grading scheme is right there for me to use. And if I click on use this grading standard and done, it will update the course details. So then when we go back to grades, my students' letter grades are showing up next to their number grades. And if you see that there's something amiss here, if I wanted that 69 to be a C, I can always go back and change that grade scheme. Now, you might be wondering, what about points? What if I use a point scale? So let's change my course around a little bit so that I can show you how it would work for points. So I'm gonna get rid of weighted grades just temporarily so I can show you how to do that. In my grade book, the first thing I need to do is change this to display as points. And then when I go to the grade scheme, what I'm looking for here is not necessarily a 100-point scale, but 100% of the points that students are able to earn. So Canvas is doing the math behind the scenes. And so if students get 100% of the points available to 92% of the points available, they'll earn an A. And so it's basically the same process there, but you just want to make sure that it's accurate and reflective of your grading scheme. And again, if you look in the grade book and the letter showing up next to the number doesn't match, then you want to go back to settings and look at grade scheme and edit whatever you've got set up so that it is accurately showing for students what their number and letter grade is. I'm going to go back to display as percentage. There we go. So I hope that helps you figure out how to get your letter grade to show up in Canvas so that you see number and letter grades on all your documentation. All right, thanks everyone.